What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for tuning into another special podcast/broadcast. Today is our very first live streaming that's going to go out via video on YouTube and Vimeo.com. And of course, on our Prophetc.net, we're going to have this up. You're going to want to really tune into today's podcast because we have my special friend, Six8Jay, who is going to go over some financial strategies with cryptocurrencies and the things that we can do to combat today's financial climate. I apologize for the rough recording of myself, but you can hear him very clearly. Stay tuned. Take a listen.
Try to record it. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Prophetc podcast/broadcast. And man, we have a good lineup for you today. We've got a special guest that I spent a lot of time trying to get with, because this man has a wealth of knowledge. We're going to go over some financial strategies of investments, or what you may want your future to look like, especially with the financial situations that are going on right now. We basically brought in my good friend. We've done some business together in the past as well. Want everybody to go ahead and welcome my buddy James. And if James, can you do me a favor? Can you give them your handle to your site and where to find you?
Well, on Twitter, it would be at James_Six8Jay. So that would be my Twitter. And then on my YouTube, it would be Crypto for Life. So the way that you would find that would be at Six8Jay_Crypto for Life with the number 4.
Perfect. And that's on Twitter. Also, you do things on YouTube. And now, again, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, he's actually on our show with us today. And so, again, I want to thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
For those who are actually just joining us, if you may be a new viewer, you can join us at Prophetc at PROPHET, T as in Tango, C as in Charlie.net. We are on a whole host of different venues. We're on Buzzsprout, we are on Spotify, we're on iTunes, you name it, we're on it. But if you can, join us on Prophetc.net. Go ahead and do some shopping around with us. Take a look at the website, and definitely make sure that you hit that Contact Us tab at the top. Stay in contact with us, join our mailing list, and you will enjoy being a Prophetc member. So without any further ado, again, I just kind of want to get a basic background of who you are, what you are about. I already know, but I kind of want you to explain to the audience basically how you got where you are today. Like how did you start off in your professional business life?
Well, Mark, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's amazing. I've known you since we were young. We've, done a lot together, both as young men, basketball, business, and all that good stuff. And so, my journey as well as anyone else. We were really, really close to you and your family. So, my journey, as we were raised extremely poor. And I think that's what really started my motivation, is being a young man who, we used to hang out with you and your family, and was always just motivated to do more, want more, to achieve more. One of the things that always motivated me was being in a poverty situation. One of the things I always talk about, and I've talked about this for a long time, is, accept nothing and question everything. Accept nothing and question everything. What I mean by that is, I was on welfare, but I couldn't understand why. We had food stamps, and I couldn't understand why. Our Christmases were at the Salvation Army, and I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why we were poor, and I couldn't get a haircut, or my clothes outgrew me, and all those type of things. So I accepted nothing and questioned everything. And so as I was growing up, I would look at people who had a lot of stuff, and I was like, what are they doing that my parents aren't doing? As a kid, why do we have to live this way? Why do I have to walk out and see? Because we come from Brooklyn, New York. And we lived in Florida, and then we moved out here when my parents divorced. So for me, it was just wanting to have more. First, my journey started off money driven. I knew that it took money. And so in my young life, I was an entrepreneur. I would buy and sell stuff, whether it was bikes or toys, and I would have yard sales and sell them. And I was always just flipping something. Then you probably remember back in the day, there was this company in the where we used to live at called Junior Careers. You remember that?
Oh yes, I do.
And I was 13 years old when I started Junior Careers, and I quickly realized that I was a salesperson. I was one of the top salespeople that this lady Corrine had, and I would sell out boxes like crazy. I just had a personality, and I was hungry. I was hungry to win. And so where most kids would get back in the van, and maybe they sold one, maybe they sold none, I would be sold out each and every time. And so that kind of started that, and as I went through school, obviously I got into sports and basketball. And so I was very fortunate to, after my first year in college basketball, we almost won a national title in that, and it was a Christian college, West Coast Christian College, as you know, it was in Fresno. We almost won a national title, and it was an NCCAA. And then from there, obviously I came back, had the opportunity to either go back and keep playing or start doing something. And so a situation happened where I started working for a little while, and met up with some people that made me realize I was too valuable to have that job. And so I had an entrepreneur spirit. I started flipping, believe it or not, wheelchairs. I started flipping wheelchairs, buying wheelchairs used, selling them. And next thing you know, I had a guy that had offered me to coach his son. And at the time, because I was real good in basketball. And so he offered me to coach his son. And in a trade, he would obviously pay me, but let me have access to his tow yard. And so when I went to his tow yard, there were cars there that were like a few $100. I could buy them. I went to Pet Boys, got some stuff to clean them up with, and that turned into a detail shop, which turned into a car lot, which then years later turned into cell phone stores throughout the area that we lived in, and other areas as well. And then doing that same process, I got into speaking, and I wanted to learn how to be a speaker and start studying, and the rest is history. It's been 25 years speaking, motivating, traveling the world, which you've seen on my social profile. From it could have been 5 people, 50 people, or 15,000 was some of the biggest crowds that I spoke in front of. I did that for a while. Raised 6 children, and back in 2017 had an opportunity to discover crypto, and then everything changed.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, you were really bringing back some memories. It's funny how the foundations that you get even when you're a kid, like you said, you mentioned Junior Careers, and there's just so many other successful people that came from that same exact program. Yep. And it was selling candy.
Yep, selling candy.
Door-to-door sales. And it's just, that's one thing that I actually really am I value quite a bit, is, meeting not only you, but like John, one of our good buddies, John Singh, he's a big investor, but it's the way that we were raised. It was the mindset that you had, that we had, that really caters to where we are as, adults, grown men, providing for everyone else. And so in that, I was listening, I think it's interesting to see, and I like how you did that. You built it step by step, so that people can see that it really did start from nothing, but you just keep edging up, and up. Can you speak more about like your speaking events and like the followings that you used to have? Because I remember watching, you have a couple of YouTube clips and things like that on the internet where you were speaking to whole stadiums of people.
Yeah. So from a guy, again, who came from welfare, one of the things I would do is accept nothing and question everything. And so I knew, like you talked about John, who's a real good friend of both of us. His mom owned that Junior Careers company that we worked for. So that was kind of unique in itself. And that's how we connected. And we're brothers to this day and everything. So we're all very close, including, yourself and I. So, but, as I was coming up and I got into traditional business, the one thing that I learned, Mark, and let me just say this for those people who may, work in a job. One of the things when I got a job, the thing that I realized is that I didn't like the system that told me I had to come to work at 8 a.m. if I wasn't done sleeping. I didn't like a system that told me to go to lunch at noon if I wasn't hungry. I didn't like the fact that somebody on the other side of the desk was dictating to me and talking down to me. So I never appreciated it. And then I would realize no matter how hard I worked, I did just enough not to get fired, and they paid me just enough not to quit. And so it was just a vicious cycle of building someone else's dream, and I didn't like it. And so with not a whole lot to go on, I started studying business people. And what I realized is where people had a lot of success was just doing something they were passionate about. So I had to figure out what was my passion. So when I tell you I started like flipping wheelchairs, it's just because one day I saw someone donate a wheelchair, and they were like, hey, if you want this wheelchair, you can have it. Then I went online after cleaning it up. I got some like Windex or some bleach or whatever. I cleaned it up. And I went online and I saw that doggone wheelchair was valued at like $350. I was like, wait a minute, I just got something for free from a situation that they give away a lot of these wheelchairs. They don't even care about them. And I can make 300, 250, 350. So I started getting those wheelchairs and I started selling those wheelchairs for a profit. So that was the first thing. That was the first thing, and I started stacking up money. So then the next thing is when that guy asked me to coach his son. And I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I kind of want to build into that question. And so I was like, well, all I want to do is get turtle wax from Pet Boys and Armor All, and I could take this crappy $700 car that was smoking, and pour a little no smoke in it, put a little Armor All in it, shampoo the car with dish, with Gain like washing powder, get some turtle wax, and all of a sudden that $700 car I sold for $2,500. And so that became a thing. I said, oh my gosh, I love this. I found something that I was passionate about. Once I was passionate about it, I realized, okay, well, not a lot of people in our area were African-American car lot owners, right? And I started studying that in order to do it legally, I had to become a car dealer. Well, I didn't have that kind of money. But what I did know is that I made that $700 car look nice to sell it for $2,500. And I kept doing that, buying a car for $350, selling it for $3,500. And I was like, my God, these are insane profits. So I set out a goal to be a car dealer, to have my own little small used car lot. But the way I did that was by making cars look good. So I said, well, if I can go out there and make everyone else's car clean, and if I can increase the value in my car, maybe I can do it at other people's cars. So that started the detail shop. That built enough money to the car business. And as I started becoming an entrepreneur, I found myself always hungry for the next thing. And one of the things that I was interested in back when I played basketball is I was doing some modeling stuff, like commercial stuff, basketball commercials, underwear, stuff like that, magazines. And that led me into one day, this guy, I don't know if you remember Alan Autry. He was the guy on Heat of the Night. He played Bubba with Carol O'Connor or something like that. And so Bubba had this guy in Fresno, and his name was Charlie. And Charlie would recruit people to be a part of Alan Autry's acting school. So one day they saw me and they said, hey, you got a great look. I don't know if you remember some of the, when I was doing my modeling stuff back in the day. He said, you got a great look. And he said, would you like to come to school? So I went to the school. Make a long story short, I ended up breaking records in that school. He gave me my first play, which was a 1967 play. I believe it was 1967 by Red Fox, who's passed away, the comedian Red Fox. It was called Norman, which I had to play a special role. I won't say it because I don't want to be politically incorrect, but I had to play a special. And so when I did that, it taught me to get over my fear of speaking. And I became a student of that. And so that led me into wanting to know how to become a speaker. And that led into somebody invited me to like a network marketing event. And I just fell in love with the whole challenge of being successful in that industry of speaking. And so I just became a student. I started studying. I would watch what other people were doing. I realized they weren't any better than me. And that's kind of how I took everything in life. Never accept anything, never accept anything, but question everything. And so as I started getting into it, I realized I couldn't be like that guy who had a silver spoon in his mouth. I couldn't be like that guy that was making $1 million, but I realized that my story was unique, that I had already taken myself out of a position where I had nothing and I built something. So I started telling that story, and the better I got, the more people start listening. And before you knew it, I was asked to speak all over the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when you started speaking and traveling all over the world, again, folks, you can look this up as well. I mean, James is responsible for a lot of business venues that put him in the position that he is in today, helping him be very successful. Even some of the formats that I used to follow you on when I was kind of young and coming up and things like that really helped me and like my business career, even to what we're doing now with Prophetc. Right. Just really helped me orient my business detail in a specific way. And like you said, just you know, do what you do, learn as you go.
That's right.
You know, there's nothing to it but to do it. I
That's
know
it.
everybody hears that,
Right.
but really just do it.
Right.
Just kind of my real quick, put a bookmark in that. That was one of my main stepping stones is, you know, real briefly, is that when I started doing music and I started coming out with like my own label, which was Prophetc at the time, you
Right.
know, we were doing rap music and things were excelling. I had noticed that there was like a certain level that I had gone to, and then there was a certain level that some of my friends could never get past,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right.
And I just always remembered that because they were always like, oh man, we don't have this, so we
Right.
can't do it. And we don't have, you know, CD labels at that time, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Because that's how we were getting them off. And it was just, there's always a million different reasons why you can't start or
Right.
you can't,
Right.
you know, do what it is that you need to do.
Right.
But and that stifled me for like a couple of months because I'm
Right.
like, man, I'm ready to go with my music. And yeah, I don't have all of these things, but when are we going to start? When are we going to get going? You know
Right.
what I mean? And, you know, it really just took me inside of me to pull myself out and be like, you know what? Just do it. Hit
That's right.
record and do what you do and build from that point on. And that
That's
was
right.
one of the reasons why I ended up succeeding, you know, with the music and things like that.
Right.
But getting back on to topic, back on with you, um, a, a lot of our viewers right now are in a predicament to where like the financial climate right now is very volatile,
Right.
you know, not only with the market and with the SBB bank going down and
Mm-hmm.
Swiss credit bank, you know, all these different banks going down.
Right. Right.
The US dollar
Yeah.
is the almost hitting the ground now,
Yeah.
and people are looking. I'm solution oriented, and so are you.
Right.
So that's why I brought you on the show, because what can people do as like a financial solution or a possible venue to go down?
Well, I think there's several things that people can do. Obviously, there's many opportunities out there. I think the biggest thing is just identify what the problem is, and I think this problem has been long coming. I think that we've all known that banks use our money to invest in you know, government bonds and loan out our money and all these different things, and you know, we've seen hints of that. You can put in 100,000, but try to go out and take 10,000 and see what happens. They got you signing papers and you know, and so it's I call it this, and I don't want to offend anyone, but in our lives we've heard of something called slavery, and this to me is not a race base. It's all people. It's basically financial slavery, and it's manipulation at its all time high, and all COVID did, and all you know, basically when everything went down, there was a lot of things exposed. There was the fact that you know, even you look at places like in China where they had a huge gold reserve, and they found out a lot of the gold was plated. It was gold plated. It wasn't actual real gold. You start finding out banking CEOs, you know, were you know, hitting people with certain fees, or even with the SVB and banks that you're talking about, right before they collapsed, like literally a week before they collapsed, they took out bonuses and cash all their stocks out. I mean, it's just criminal. And yet, you know, if we do things, we have to pay for it. But when they do things, it's justified somehow, some way. So
And they get bailed out.
they get bailed out, right? So this is just financial slavery 101. And I think where we're at right now, I call this the evolution of money. This is where, and I don't want to try to boast and this is where I'll say this, Mark. Sometimes in life, there's an opportunity that comes our way, and a lot of times in life, for those of us who are maybe I would say minorities, but just in a less fortunate situation, because it's not really about a race. Really, it's just you can be born any race in a bad situation, and that is that we just don't know what we know, and you know, we don't know what we don't know until someone tells us. And a lot of times there's not an opportunity. We're so brainwashed. You know, for me as a kid, I was brainwashed to go to college. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I tell my kids to do the same thing, go to college. But we have different conversations in addition to that. But we're trained to go get a better car than our parents. If we were in an apartment, go get a house. And we find ourselves just basically in this vicious cycle of nothingness. We're trying to work our whole lives to retire on a fraction of what we, work so hard for. And, we're looking forward to 401ks and retirement, what is it? I can't think of what it's called right now, but when you retire, they give
like
you a
IRAs
fraction.
and
and it's a joke. And I think what's happened is that governments are getting exposed, banks are getting exposed, and this is the evolution of money. People are looking for a reason, and one of those things that came out, it was created back in 2008. It's a thing called Bitcoin and crypto. And what Bitcoin and crypto did, Mark, is it was created to for people to be able to have something that was not manipulated by governments and banking institutions. And so it's funny because all the things that we're seeing right now with the banking issues that we're having, and it's really the reason that crypto was invented. And crypto and Bitcoin went from a place of, in the very early days, it's dark web money, or it's bad money, or people can use it for laundering and people can use it for scams. Well, you know what? People use our cash for laundering and for scams. And for right. And so once it got past those things, and for the people who got in early, they were very fortunate. We're in a position now where you've got countries, governments embracing Bitcoin as a way for their countries to to establish it as far as their main currency. You've got some of the smartest and brilliant people in the world that are talking about it, whether it's your Elon Musk or your Kathy Woods over at ARK Investments, or your Michael Saylor with MicroStrategies. And so some of the biggest, greatest minds in the world, you see it, you can't even turn on a show or a financial show, whether it's the guy that came on in the morning that talked about stocks, and I can't think of his name right now, but it's like, if you go to Bloomberg, if you go to see anything you look at, is all crypto related, or it's got something to do with crypto now,
or oriented,
or crypto oriented. So obviously it's been very volatile, but it's not, it's one of the things that everything has kind of been that way. You look at when COVID hit, stocks tanked, crypto tanked. And so we're seeing a lot of things that's going on right now, but you can also see, for people who are paying attention, there's a lot of people getting wealthy. And I think what happens is, Mark, we get so lazy and we get so complacent because, and I say this kindly, most people like being told what to do. That's why most people have a job. They like going in, they like trading time for money. They like that guaranteed check. And what happens is, and I remember this a long time ago, I had to tell my wife, who, I married about 14 years ago. When I met her, she was a personal trainer. And she built this gym, and she was at the gym, and she treated the gym like her own, and she cleaned the gym, and she would take food to the trainers, and she treated it like it was her own business. And one day they had a Christmas party, and they was giving out $10,000 bonuses, $25,000 bonuses, Rolexes. And she was like, "Oh my God, I love this company." And I was always just like, I don't buy anything because you build someone else. There's a reason they're giving out these gifts. And 3 months later, they shut the company down. And she just cried. And I said, that's why you don't build other people's dreams. You have to invest in yourself, because you just never know when something's not going to work out. And I think right now people are scared because they're looking at banks, and they're looking at the fact that we're going through some things, and they're scared, which they should be. And I think, it's one of the things that you're either reactive or you're proactive. And reactive is when something happens and you react to it. Proactive is taking initiative to learn about where the world is going, and maybe try to be a part of that innovation. And I think that's what crypto is right now. Everyone has an opportunity to be a part of it. I think most people are just stuck in the mindset of still asking, I always say there's 3 types of people: people who play the game, people who watch the game, and people who have no idea there's a game being played. And that's really where everyone's at right now when it comes to the next part of our financial system.
Yeah, because we've been on the dollar for so long, and ignorance is always a part of that game that they implement to exercise control and maintain control. And with the advent of course, the internet and being able to research things online, people have now kind of come to know the history of our own financial money systems and the evolutions of where they have come from. Because, again, with like the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913, that was the beginning demarcation of when our dollar started to become manipulated and devalued. And it has been a plan really to, end American capitalism with that dollar, gradually, you
Right.
know. Unfortunately, people are now starting to understand how our country has been hijacked.
Mhm.
When I was talking about this stuff 10, 15 years ago, it was always like, oh, he's conspiracy theorists and all this type of stuff. And, it's like whatever, but it's like,
Right.
yeah, but you're not, you can call me whatever you want to call me, but
Right.
the handwriting is on right there on the wall.
Right. Right. Right.
How long is it going to take you to figure out,
Right.
what's really going on with fractional reserve banking, what's
Right.
really happening to your money when you deposit your
Mhm.
money into the bank,
Mhm.
what's written on your checks,
Right.
you know what I mean? And going into that whole, rabbit trail of,
Right.
who you are and you're bonded out, things like that, to where
Mhm.
now, fast forward, through all those different conversations,
Right.
people now are forced to not only understand the history of where we have come from, but now they can clearly see what the future is of what, and it's being engineered.
Mhm.
The dollar devaluation is being engineered. This is one of the reasons why they've already implemented in Congress the UCBCs. What was it? Um,
CBDC. CBDC.
yeah, CBDCs,
Mhm.
central bank digital currencies,
Mhm.
because they know they want to end that financial freedom that you had with the dollar and basically put you on their system to where you will have no monetary freedom, which will then be manipulated. You will have no mental freedom either.
Well,
Because as
it's
we
scary.
see,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you don't go along with the things that they want to that they want you to have,
Yep.
they have already put into place like these social credit scores
Mhm.
and things like that, where you have to be a good person to even be able to exist in the system. And
Yeah.
so I brought all of that up just to say that we are solution based.
Mhm.
So even though all that bad stuff is going on, there's other things that we can do. And again, that's why we have you on. What
Mhm.
are some of the benefits of people going into crypto, and kind of maybe if you can lay out how they would do it, or what's a good venue to do it on?
Well, let me answer. Let me answer it, but let me touch on a couple of things you said. This is a scary time right now, Mark. Nixon detached gold, which used to back the dollar back in '71. And what's scary right now is the only thing that makes our dollar valuable is the belief that we have in it and the belief that other countries have in it. And what's so scary right now is that BRICS, which is the other countries. You got I can't remember every country's name for BRICS.
So it's Britain,
Britain,
Russia,
right,
India, and
right.
China, and then the S is like Saudi Arabia,
Right,
but I
right,
guess
right.
that's the
So,
alternative.
so you've got BRICS right now, basically driving, basically away from the dollar. All countries are losing faith in the dollar. They're going into other areas or other things that they're looking into, whether it's the won or the ruby or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, when which we've always been the powerhouse, people stop believing in our dollar and stop believing in our dollar. That's scary because it's not really backed by anything, which is why they can continue to print more and more of it. And so where we're at right now is it's scary because one is our financial institutions have been they have been revealed, they have been shown as far as the scam that they are, which we've always known what they were. And then the countries are starting to give up on the dollar and turning their back on the U.S. for trade and things like. I mean, it's just really scary. A lot of people think it's gotten bad, but I think it could get worse with a possible recession. And if we have a hardcore recession, it can also get into a depression.
Yeah,
Just a year ago, real estate was at an all-time high. People having mortgages they really can't afford. $3, $4, $5, $6,000. The average car payment they said was about $700 to $800, which most people can't afford. So you're going to see a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of foreclosures. You're going to see a lot of repossessions. You're going to see a lot of
repossessions.
bankruptcies. You're going to see a lot of things like that. And so you add all that in, right? So let's talk about this. You add all that in, and what the government did is they used some of these huge scams, which people have heard about, like the Celsius scam or the Terra Luna scam, or one of the biggest of all time, which is the 30-something-year-old guy who was on the cover of Forbes magazine, Sam Bankman-Fried, with FTT, FTX. And one minute he's a billionaire, the next minute he's the biggest fraud in the history of crypto and one of the biggest scams in the United States or globally. And so, and you got other ones like Dogecoin with Luna. You got, who's been indicted for stealing, billions of dollars, and you got Celsius, and you got a lot of CEOs that have ran, and you got a lot of just so many scams, just scam after scam after scam. And what people don't realize is that it's not a Bitcoin or a crypto thing. It's just it's kind of like when we had the .com era. They had something they called the .com bubble pop. And what the .com bubble pop initially was when everyone got into .com everything, but then there was a bunch of scams that had to be washed out. So .com took off, the scams were exposed, and it tanked down. And it took a while, it capitulated down, and it started moving sideways for a long time. And it took a long time before it saw those all-time highs again, right?
Yeah.
Because they had to wash those scams out. Well, it's the same thing with crypto. Crypto itself is not bad, just like .com wasn't bad. It was the evolution of mankind moving into a different era. Well, crypto is a phenomenal opportunity, and I think it's one of the fairest forms of capitalism in the world because everyone has the opportunity to be great. It doesn't matter if you're 6'8" like me. It doesn't matter if you had a hops like you. It doesn't matter if you could sing or rap like Mark or like LL, whatever. It wasn't about your skill set. If you could moonwalk or you could sing like Michael Jackson, like Prince. It's to me what makes crypto so great. It allows the average person to dream again. It allows the average person to take the blue pill instead of the red pill. It allows the average person to realize that there's a doggone matrix that we've all been stuck on, that we've all been lied to, that we've all been manipulated with, to believe that this is perfect system and is flawed like nothing else. And right now, we're all being, if you so choose to, you can be unplugged, you can take the blue pill, and you can realize what's really going on. And it's an opportunity to position yourself and your family in what I call the evolution of money. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's several ways, Mark, that you can do that. I think the first thing that I always recommend people is become a great student. If there's an opportunity to own a Starbucks, but you don't know how to make a latte, what's the point, right? So you've got to be a great student of this industry. A very simple way to do that is to obviously get on YouTube. The problem with YouTube is you have to worry about a lot of scammers, a lot of what we call shillers, a lot of people who have their own agenda, right? They're trying to push some kind of coin to basically help their own narrative, which is get more rich and whatever that asset is. So you got to be really careful. When I started this back in 2017, I started with 15 grand. And there's people, these days you can start with less than, I've heard one guy say you can start with $1,000, become a millionaire in time. So it's basically becoming a great student. That's what we teach with what we share with my Crypto for Life channel on YouTube is we talk about everything crypto. We keep it 100. We share, different projects that we're excited about, what platforms you can. Now, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I talk about should ever be considered or deemed financial advice, but I'm documenting my journey in the evolution of money. And that opportunity allowed me to get in with 15 grand and create millions of dollars in this space. Where me and my wife 3 years ago took off, and we were living, in Hawaii for a year. We were in Vegas. Came out and bought a property here, buying acres with, just living life to the fullest. And it's all based off of crypto. So I always tell people, and I've seen the average guy, Mark, get into the space who was driving Uber, who had a job at Taco Bell, who was doing this and that are now financially sound. And I'm talking about some of these guys are worth millions of dollars. A couple particular guys worth, $100 million. It's bananas, bro. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to come in and make $100 million. That's ridiculous. But you can definitely get in here and find something that you're excited about, do your research, and put yourself in a position to be financially free. And a lot of people think, well, I can't afford Bitcoin. There's so many more opportunities out there. And so through trial and error, Mark, and I want to hand it back over to you, I came up with a system called the 70-20-10 plan, where I rate everything off of 70-20-10, which is 70% of being great coins, 20% of being up and coming, and 10% of being long shots. So I came up with a 70-20-10, how to dollar cost average in whatever your position is. So whatever your position is unique to you. So you don't need to worry about what James is doing or what Mark is doing. Just whatever that amount is for you, you got to figure out what that is. It's not a business. There's no business tied into what I do. But we just teach a mindset and a principle of a 70-20-10 dollar cost average, and also learning how to take profit 25-25-50, how to take your profits and be profitable as you're trying to gain more and more profit.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm after. I'm so glad that you're kind of laying this out, because again, you're not only laying it out for my audience or our audience, but you're laying it out for me as well. Because I actually, and this is like for some of the viewers who may have had a similar situation happen to them, to where I was actually invested in a certain type of Bitcoin. And, I dabbled in it because, I had other investments and things like that I was in.
Right.
This was back in, I think, 2018. It may have even been 2017.
Okay.
But, I would throw money here and there, a couple hundred, couple thousand, just because I heard it was the next best thing to do.
Right.
And it started to take off and started to excel for a little bit. And then after COVID, it started to dwindle. Now, I didn't know anything about how to maybe diversify a portfolio if there was one to do with Bitcoin or anything like that. I was literally just kind of trying to get my feet wet and see how the market worked.
Right.
And so I did that, and lo and behold, all the way up until I think about just last year, 2022, it had actually hit rock bottom and went to zero.
Right.
And so now, having said that, I'm just putting that on the line because can you explain to us, like, maybe how that may have happened or what people can do to combat that situation?
Well, and one of the things that you said I was in a type of Bitcoin, and there's really only one Bitcoin. So I think that the key is to identify things that are like knockoffs or things that people may do that might try to imitate a certain coin because of that coin's popularity, right? So it's kind of like there's only one Michael Jordan, but you get someone who tries to act like Michael Jordan, wear a sweatband like Michael Jordan, wear his shoes, wear his jersey, but then his game is horrible because he's not Michael Jordan. So it's one of the things like that with Bitcoin. There's so many projects that came out that tried to mimic Bitcoin. It could have been, Bitcoin this or Bitcoin that, or whatever the one that you were in, Unfold Bitcoin, my cousin's dog groomer's owner Bitcoin, whatever, ice cream Bitcoin or whatever. So there's only one Bitcoin. I think that goes back to, and another thing you said is throwing money at what I teach people is, first of all, money is priceless. And you can throw $100 away. I've seen just this last week, there was a meme coin, and I don't really get too much into a particular project, but memes are something that you can get in and out of real quick. For a person who doesn't have a lot of money, there's a situation where a person that put I think like just under $300, like $280, $260 in a meme coin last week, and that meme coin jumped up to he cashed out at $600,000. And so there's some incredible opportunities out there. Now, that's like fishing with a grenade. I remember one time doing a live, one of my lives, and they had a coin that came out, and I looked at it because, I always cover what's hot and what's not. And I go to CoinMarketCap and look at recently added coins. There was a coin that had 9 zeros and an 8. And I said, that project just looks stupid because it's a meme coin. And if you go to the website, it said it was a joke. But that coin went up 1,500% in 24 hours. So imagine if you put $1,000 in that, and if it went up 1,500% in 24 hours. So you got to learn how to identify certain projects, get in and out. Now, those are memes. I don't really waste. That's what I call my 10 percenters, because if you only got 10% of those 10 percenters right, you could be very, very wealthy. One of those 10 percenters back in the day was a coin called Dogecoin. And Dogecoin now is, everyone knows Doge, right? Doge has made millionaires.
Doge, how do you spell Doge?
Doge. Or if you go Dogecoin, it's Dogecoin. Dogecoin right now is ranked number 8 on CoinMarketCap globally as a number 8 cryptocurrency. But Dogecoin was created as a joke. And then they started, they got a community. They started having use cases. Obviously, Elon Musk started backing Dogecoin. He bought a bunch of Doge. He got on Saturday Night Live with his mom talking about Doge. If you don't remember, 2 weeks ago, he changed the Twitter bird to the Dogecoin symbol. And so he's very, he's a big backer behind that coin. Now, there's other coins that was also 10%, like Shiba. Shiba Inu was a coin that I put $600 in, and it turned into over $600,000 for me. So again, but the thing is that those are 2 coins out of many meme coins that I've taken a position in. But the position that I took was, I'm never going to invest more than I can afford to lose, and I'm never going to. So, for an example, if I have $1,000, the only thing that I'm going to invest in coins like a meme coin is 10%. The other 20%, that $200, I'm going to put into coins that are up and coming, and then that 70%, which is $700 of that $1,000, I'm going to put into the bigger coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, where I can dollar cost average into things that I know are going to be around long term. So that's my 70-20-10 strategy. There's a little bit more to it. I use a plus, minus, and even strategy with that. But that's pretty much what it is. So it's being a great student. It's better to learn and make nothing than to throw money and lose everything.
Absolutely. And if you can, since we're kind of like right in the middle of this, people are getting this information. Where can they go to listen to you again?
If you go to YouTube, it's Crypto for Life. And actually, it would be under at 6-8-Jay. So it's 6 SIX, the number 8 JAY _ crypto, CRYPTO, the number 4, and then LIFE, Crypto for Life. You can also go to my Twitter, which has all my information as well, which is at James _ Crypto for Life.
Perfect. Yeah, because right now, man, you're hot right now. You're on fire, and I know people are following us right up to this point. Because while you were talking, I was actually going on to looking at like the stock market index and things like that,
right.
And I went to check out that Doge Point. That's why I wanted to see how to spell it.
Right.
Folks, if you're listening to this, definitely take advantage of this. Work while you watch.
Right.
Listen to what it is that we're going through right now, and start finding these financial solutions or possibilities to solutions on your own. Again, right. I'm not offering any sort of financial advice or anything like that. Just merely taking some steps and strategies that has worked for James in the past. And even myself now, I'm actually going to start getting back into it, because now I kind of understood the errors in my ways just by talking to you. And again, I'm glad that, at the time it was something, okay, I can pitch a couple of $100 here or there,
mm-hmm.
Nothing that's ever going to break you until you learn the game.
That's right.
And then you can start making more of an educated strategy of how to make more money. Right. Now what makes crypto secure? That was another one of the questions that one of my listeners had written into the show about.
Well, there's that can mean two different things. What makes a project secure? Well, it's obviously the security system that they have in place for that. Now, if you're saying what makes crypto secure as far as its value, it's the same that makes our dollar secure, and that is that the people believe in that dollar. So Bitcoin wouldn't be anything if people didn't believe in it. Crypto wouldn't be anything if people didn't believe in it. And trying to compare Bitcoin to money is like trying to compare cell phone technology, Mark, to when we were kids. It was called a pager. It's the evolution. It's the evolution of communication. This is the evolution of money. We're never going to go backwards. We're never going back to pagers again. Right? We're never going to go. No one's ever going to go back and say, "I love my bank. I trust my bank. I love my money. I trust my money." That's over. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the evolution of digital assets. So what makes these projects and what makes this opportunity so amazing, Mark, is that, obviously being, I was a guy who owned stores. I believed in the brick and mortar way. COVID made people realize that, maybe that's not the safest idea in the world. So people had to start coming up with ways of, that's why, Netflix went on an all-time tear, and YouTube, because everything was about being able to do the things we're doing now without being in front of each other for health reasons, for safety reasons, whatever the case may be. So if you can build an online business, that's really the way to go. If you can build a business like what you're doing right now with your show, that's really the way to go. Do you have that talent? Well, not everyone has a talent. There's some people who, when you get in church and they say, does anybody have anyone they want to pray for? They got all kinds of people they want to pray for, but they're scared to get up. They're scared to stand up because that's scary. That's And so not everybody can do what you and I do. Not everyone's built that way. So what makes this thing unique, Mark, is crypto is every single new business, every business that's out there coming up with a digital asset that's tied into that business. So in order to buy into that business, you're buying a coin that's connected to that opportunity, right? You're buying. Okay. So if I want to invest in Ripple, I want to get XRP. If I want to invest, and Bitcoin is not like any of the other what we call altcoins. Altcoins are alternative coins to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more like digital gold. That's exactly. It's a store of value, right? It's
interesting.
It's a commodity. So Ethereum is a company that obviously, you can buy in. The other companies are on their platform and things like that. Or Ripple is about sending money. Every coin has something that it represents. Bitcoin is like digital gold. So right now, what you're finding a lot of people doing, Mark, is a lot of companies like Michael Saylor. If you get on there, and again, this is not me, it's bigger than me. Go out there and listen to billionaires. Why are these guys spending billions in Bitcoin? Because they realize how, I can buy gold, which gold value is on the verge of tanking as well, but I can go out there and buy gold and silver, but where do I put all this stuff at? Right? If I try to go to the airport with $100 million in gold, I'm going to get robbed or I'm going to be barely moving, right? I can't do it. But I can have crypto on my digital device, on my cell phone, on a ledger or something, and I can have hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and no one would ever know it. It's one of the safest ways of having storing value. And also, if you look at more and more things, like, for example, you can go buy Teslas with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You can go buy, and also with Dogecoin now. You can go out, AMA has deals with Shiba. And you can just go on and Google crypto partnered companies, right? So you can go in and put crypto partner companies, and it'll pull all these companies up. I've gone out and bought land. I went out to car dealers and bought cars with crypto. So it's really the evolution of money. And so I'll also say,
because everybody is accepting crypto now, like a lot more and more people.
Growing like crazy. And so that's where we're at. The reason I say the blessings here, because we're in a position before it explodes. So what happened is in 2021, Mark, everyone saw it explode to 69,000 Bitcoin, and everything else followed. And a lot of people made, millions of dollars, or made hundreds or tens of thousands, whatever your position was. Then it retraced, and people are like, oh my gosh, well, anything that goes up typically creates higher highs and higher lows. So what happens is, as more and more people adopt digital assets, it's going to grow over time. I mean, there's companies that are calling for Bitcoin to be $1 million asset. Well, if Bitcoin is $1 million, where would that put Doge? Where would that put XRP? Where would that put other assets? That means you don't have to worry about trying to get a Bitcoin, but find some of these other assets that will actually move when the market does. One other thing I want to talk about is you talked about the government-based currency, which they're calling CBDC. That's scary, Mark, because what they're doing is they're utilizing all this crap that's going on in the world. Oh, banks are this, and this is happening, these scams are happening, and then they're trying to force people to this digital asset called CBDC. And just like you said, when you do things they don't like, if you don't vote, if you don't get vaccinated, if there's something that you do too much of, they can shut your money off. They can control the narrative. And so it's really going to take what we think is a bad situation and make it even worse if we get to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my listeners are definitely all down with that, because a lot of people have been listening to me for years, whether it was either in my music or even on this podcast.
Right.
And, everybody knows the direction that this is heading.
Mm-hmm.
And
scary.
I got tired of being, because again, our natural instinct is to warn people when you think there's something dangerous around,
right.
Right. That's how we're wired to be, especially
right.
as men. Like, my job is to protect.
Right.
But I got to this place to where I was like, man, like, I'm saying all of this, but it's like doom and gloom. And,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to just be that, but how do I not be doom and gloom, but yet let people know what's going on at the same
right.
time? It's just, if your house is on fire, if I tell you about it, it's because I care about you. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And too many people were kind of looking at it like, oh, you're just doom and gloom, because people are pretty much asleep. They were asleep.
Mm-hmm.
However, now people are definitely awake, especially this audience that's listening. So these are definitely some good keys. Like I said, I'm Googling a lot of this stuff, so I have it in my information as well when we're done here.
Right.
But I think with this Dogecoin, it looks like that's like the top one that comes up. Like when you look it up on, I don't know, I just pulled up CoinMarket. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some coins there's some coins out there that I could throw at your audience and you that I think are going to make people very wealthy. Again, it's not financial advice. There's some coins out there that are so undervalued. And like I said, it's because of the times that we're in right now. With so much chaos and controversy, the one thing that people have to understand, the reason that the government is acting the way they're acting, the reason they're trying to implement CBDCs, the reason that they're doing these things like Operation Choke Point 2.0 for crypto, the reason that they're right now they're trying to pass a law that if you use a VPN, it can be a $250,000 fine and up to 20 years in prison, is because they're trying to keep people enslaved. They don't want people. Here's a blunt way of saying it. They don't want people like me and you moving next door. They want us tied into a system where we're building their dreams. No one, look, I'll say it just like this, and I hate to say it this way, but I got to say it.
Go ahead. Well, it's a free speech platform, brother.
they don't want us to realize that we're free. It's kind of like slavery back in the day. When slavery was over, do you realize that certain slaves still want to stay? They want to stay slaves because it was comfortable, because they felt it was better. They had such a jacked up mindset. They were so brainwashed that they still want to stay and be slaves. And so the point I'm making is, again, this is not about a race thing. This is all people. People right now are comfortable. We want to stay with our job. We want things to stay. It's almost like the movie Matrix. The guy goes, well, if I turn on my friends, would you just plug me back in so I can be rich in this fake world, so I can have, it's like some people would rather stay a part of a system that's controlling them. So as long as they're eating, as long as they got the new Honda Accord, as long as they got the new iPhone 13 or 1500 or whatever it's called, as long as they got these things, they're okay going through the motions. And the thing is, you're either going to wake up, you're going to move, and you're going to be on top of the wave, because it's kind of a little late to say you're in front of the wave. In front of the wave are people who got in back in the day. But right in the wave is waking up now and saying, you know what? We're in a position. I'm in a position right now where I can change the narrative for my family, for my children, my children's children right now, without a whole bunch of money. It's just having a plan. Or there's a person who's going to watch the game, just like we do every Sunday night, or just like when me and you used to play basketball, we go play basketball, and everybody sitting on the side and go, ooh, that's amazing. But they weren't playing a game. And then there's other people who just don't even know there's a game being played. And so right now there's a special time for people to change the narrative. And you've got to figure out, this is not even about whether you want to. You're in the game. Here's what's so crazy, Mark. Whether you want to play the game or not, banks are closing. Bank runs are real. Money printing is real. The dollar's on its way out. And if you don't figure out what you're going to do, you're going to be stuck in a game that you're for surely going to lose if you don't start playing.
Absolutely. Man, couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, man, that's just super powerful. Like, I know I want everybody to take this show. I want you to tag it, put it on. Well, I know that on certain venues it's kind of hard, like Facebook, things like that. But share this video, you guys, because this is what is needed. This is one of the main things that Prophetc is all about, and that is, again, really sharing what's known as the gospel. The gospel just meaning the good news, just news and information in general, because this is what is going to help you. Right. You know, there's nothing to fear for the future except to remember how God has led you in the past.
That's right.
And that means paying attention, learning the game, like how you were saying, and then being able to strategize from there. Because a lot of people are freaking out right now. I mean, and it is scary times, things like that.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to necessarily panic, but prepare. And, you know, I did one of my videos online about preparedness, but that was more or less like home preparedness with like food and water and shelter and so on. But this now is going to be another avenue of preparedness for people and their assets and their money.
That's right.
Moving along. Is there anything else that you kind of want to impart to the audience that you want them to really take away from anything that you've said, or directions that you want them to go?
I think at the end of the day, it's an old quote that I heard a while back, and that is, and I know it's the same, but you really gotta embrace these words, and that is, do the things today that other people won't do in order to have the things tomorrow that other people won't have. Anything that when I talked about, you know, it's like, well, James, you said welfare and then business. How did that work? There's a lot in between, but when it comes right down to it, it's all about just basically becoming a great student, and having a plan, and like I said, accept nothing, question everything. And that's really what it's about, Mark. I mean, it's not gonna, you know, I'm not saying it was an easy journey, but it was definitely worth it, right? And that's pretty much what it is. It's just doing a lot of little things, not overwhelming yourself, and really just paying attention. We're in a crisis right now, and people need to realize that we are in a crazy crisis. And you know, you just got to look around the world, what's happening. There's so much bigger than just us. There's people who are so fed up with their financial institutions, they're setting banks on fire. I mean, just look around the world, what's going on. I mean, this is bigger than just us. And I know people say, well, crypto, look, it don't have to be crypto. Whatever it is that you try, whatever it is that you find, for me, I'm one of those people that I just tend to look at what successful people are doing. I tend to look at what the majority are talking about. And right now, if you look at anything in the world, anything that the governments are talking about, anything that, what's the one thing we all have, the common denominator right now that everyone's talking about is crypto. And if that doesn't say something to you, I don't care what look, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one. It doesn't mean it's worth anything, right? So at the end of the day, you've got to look at what everyone's talking about. Big money people, follow the money. That's the whole thing, because I always tell my kids there's a difference between being average and excellent. Excellent, if excellent is an option, why would you ever choose to be average? So if you have all the answers, guess what? You wouldn't need this show. You wouldn't need to go out there and follow anybody because you've got all the answers. And for people who even think they've got the answers, guess what? They're turning to crypto because they're scared. They realize that, hey, I'm either involved in it or I'm going to get left behind. So that's really what I would tell everybody is just find something that you're. Here's the last thing I'll say. I grew up chasing money, and then it was something that became bigger than me. Like right now, I need to work out. I always say I'm a little overweight right now, and there's one thing. But see, it's so easy for us to give up on ourselves, right? Or have these goals that we every year we've got a new plan. Oh, here's my new resolution. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah. And we give up. We'll have a resolution in November, but we'll give up on it in January or February because it's just too easy. Oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. You buy a year's membership, 3-year membership, and you never go. And then you get pissed off when they're charging you all this money. The point I'm trying to make is this. It's something I used to always tell people. If your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. If your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. You have to find something that's bigger than you. For me, I hate seeing my mom struggle. I knew that I didn't want my kids to be in the same position or feel the same way I felt. Why are these people eating at this restaurant? Why are these people living in that house? Why are these people driving this car? So the thing that drove me was money until I identified my purpose. And then my purpose became bigger than me. And once I identified my purpose, money was easy because I was driven by something that was greater than myself. Also find something that you love. Find something that you're passionate about. I'm in love with winning. I'm in love with crypto because it's a never-ending. It's kind of like Michael Jordan retired because he got bored. He went to play baseball. How do you get retired? How do you get tired of winning? And what I mean by that, and I'm not talking about Michael Jordan, like crypto is so profound because there's so much that you can learn that you can't really master anything, but you can get so good that you make millions of dollars in the journey of getting better. The better you get, the more you make. It's just like I always tell people, when you change this, the reason that I was on welfare, Mark, the reason that my parents were broke, my mom was, we were in those situations in the West Side and in the hood, in the projects, because the mindset that my mother had. My mother was a beautiful person, amazing person. She was my hero.
Yes,
you knew my mother, right? She inspired many, even had high schools like Hoover planted a tree in her name because of all the kids that she would mentor. She was a saint. She was an amazing lady. Lost the battle to depression. But the point I'm making is this. When you change this, the only thing that had me in that position is that I learned and I was programmed based off what I was taught. The more I put in here, the more everything around me changed. As soon as I upgraded this, my entire life upgraded. And so that's what I'll tell people right now. Pay attention to everything, accept nothing, and fight for something that's bigger than yourself.
Absolutely, man. And this is actually something that can provide for financial freedom.
Absolutely.
That because this is the way that I see it too. Because with mentioning the dollar and everything that they're trying to coerce everyone into, by having a choice, you have the freedom to do so. Yeah. And this is definitely a venture that can continue your financial freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. James, man, I want to thank you so much for, having this. What was this, like an hour?
Oh, man. You're welcome, brother. Anything for you, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I just kind of want to wrap things up. I want to thank you so much for imparting that knowledge onto not only my viewers, but to me as well. And man, we got to have you back on the show. We'll get it even deeper into some of those other topics that we kind of had to skip over because those are whole long rabbit trails as well.
Absolutely.
But definitely come back and have another program with us.
Oh, you bet. Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right. Absolutely. So 6-8Jay.
That's right.
That's going to be at Twitter and it's also at YouTube.
Yeah, so James _68J. for Twitter, and then for my YouTube is at 68Jay_crypto for life, which if you just Google crypto for life, and you should see me pop up. I think there was a couple other channels that was called Crypto for Life, but I'm the most active with the most content. So I've been out for about 5 months now. I was co-hosting another show, started my own show about 5 months ago, and now I've got other people that have me, kind of like what you're doing now, but I've got other people that have me on their YouTube shows that are pretty big. Like every Sunday, some people have me on talking about financial freedom and the success I've had and things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Folks, you heard it here. Tune into James's podcast and broadcast that he's doing, but also make sure you save, click, and share this link of everything that you heard today. Send it out in the emails. Spread this gospel of good news to everybody that you know. Thank you so much for listening to us here at Prophetc.net. We will see you next week.
Last man standing. Yeah, change the world.